Hello and welcome to our celebration of the end of a very busy, productive, and exciting Citizen Science Month. We are so thrilled that you're here with us to celebrate citizen science, or maybe to learn what citizen science is, what it's all about, and how you can get involved with it. My name is Amanda Sullivan, Senior Program Developer at the National Girls Collaborative Project, and I'm really thrilled that you're all here for this fun and exciting webinar. We'll be getting started in just a few minutes, meeting our wonderful speakers, but a few little logistics and housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded, and you'll have access to the recording after this webinar is complete. We'll send that link to you via email and post it as a resource on our website. If you need auto-generated captioning, that is available to you. And if you need help or have any issues, feel free to message us in the chat. We will ask that you remain muted as our speakers are chatting, but we would love for you to introduce yourselves in the chat. Let us know where you're joining from. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat at any time, and we'll have some dedicated question and answer time later on in our hour together, and we'll be pulling all of those great questions that you're asking. In case this is the first time that you're joining us for a National Girls Collaborative Project webinar, welcome. You couldn't have picked a better one to join as your first webinar. I just want to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do, and let you get to know us a little bit better. So the vision of the National Girls Collaborative Project, as you can see on screen here, is to support and create STEM experiences that are as diverse as the world that we live in. And we do this by working to connect, create, and collaborate. These are our three major goals on screen here. First, we aim to build and sustain a network of advocates to provide equitable and inclusive STEM opportunities. We also work to catalyze equity in STEM from research into practice by providing actionable knowledge that transforms the STEM experience. And the third goal is really an internal goal. We hope to increase our collective impact by strengthening our own organizational effectiveness. Here are a few of our resources if you're interested in staying connected, learning more about what we do. We have webinars monthly on a variety of different topics. I'm so excited that you found this one. We have a monthly newsletter if you'd like to subscribe to it. It's the best way to find out about our national events, about resources, about upcoming professional development opportunities, research, and more. And then our website is a great resource where you can find information on exemplary practices for engaging girls in STEM, on access and equity. We have a lot of blog posts, statistics, and other reports, so we hope you'll check that out as well. And now I'm really excited to turn it over to our celebration, our fun, our learning, all about what citizen science is. You might have heard it called community science. You might have heard it called a few different things. Well, today we'll be talking about what citizen science is, what Citizen Science Month has been all about. And it's okay if you're just learning what citizen science is, and maybe you didn't participate in Citizen Science Month. We'll be sharing some resources and activities and ideas of how you can continue this learning and science engagement with girls and all youth year-round. So to do that, I'm absolutely honored and thrilled to introduce our three speakers today. I want to share just a few brief words about each of them because they really are extraordinary experts at what they do, and we're really lucky to have them here today. So let me just share a few brief words about them before I turn it over to these speakers. So first off, we are joined by Tara Cox, who actually works with us here at the National Girls Collaborative Project. And she brings over 10 years of experience in museum and STEM education settings to her current role as Senior Manager of Programs and Partnerships at NGCP. She was the co-principal investigator of the National Science Foundation-funded Leap into Science, cultivating a national network for science and literacy, where she led the development of a Train the Trainer network. Tara is passionate about growing and supporting STEM projects that strive to broaden participation in STEM. We are also joined by Lise Mitchell. Lise joined the Grand Ledge Area District Library as their library director in 2013. She received her master's in library science from Wayne University in 1994. She has worked at the Detroit Institute of the Arts, the Library of Michigan, and many, many other wonderful organizations. She has increased libraries' partnerships with local government, business organizations, and school. And science and technology have long been a passion for Lise, working with SciStarter to bring citizen science to the Grand Ledge Library community has been a very rewarding experience for Lise, and we are thrilled to learn more about what that experience was like and how others can learn from the experience that you had. And then last but certainly not least, we are also joined by Suzi Taylor. Suzi is the director of the Science Math Resource Center, a STEM outreach center at Montana State University. She is the co-leader of the Montana Girls STEM Collaborative. She's had a long history of leading outreach programs to support the citizens of Montana, including projects funded by NASA, the NSF, and the Air Force. She has a special interest in reaching kids in Montana's smallest and most rural communities. We are so thrilled to learn more from Suzi about the work that she does. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Tara to kick it off and tell us, well, ask us, what is citizen science?
Thank you so much, Amanda. Thanks for joining us, everyone. It is the last day of Citizen Science Month. I'm going to put a link in the chat to more information about that. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But before we get started, I'm curious, what is citizen science in your opinion and your definition? Put it in the chat. You may have also heard it be called community science or participatory research or open science. But what are some of those characteristics that make something citizen science? Okay, so Adrian says amateur research and observations. Yep, absolutely. It does involve amateurs or non-traditional scientists in a laboratory. Yep, everybody is a scientist, absolutely. Any other thoughts about what is citizen science? Young kids studying science, absolutely. Everyday people contributing data to scientific research. Yes, you're all spot on. So citizen science is, if you want to go to my reveal, Amanda, citizen science is a global movement. It's happening everywhere on Earth that enables people of all ages with diverse experiences to collaborate with scientists by participating in scientific research. And there's tons of ways to do this, and we're going to talk about some of those ways in just a minute. But it is how people are making an impact about issues that they care about in their local community and across the globe. Next slide, please. So because of citizen science, which ranges from topics in astronomy to ecology to biology, environmental science, there are citizen science projects for everyone. Because of citizen science projects, we know so much more about the world than we would have if people weren't helping to contribute. Citizen scientists might help track bird migrations. We know because of citizen science that birds are migrating, that bird populations are in decline, or that we're having air quality issues or water quality issues because of everyday people monitoring their local air and water quality. Citizen science projects might involve identifying celestial objects. So the NASA projects involve scientists having too much data and needing people to go and classify images of space, which is super, super cool. And there's actually competitions around this, and you can name celestial objects. You can get them named on your behalf if you discover them. There's just so much really cool stuff happening in that space. Citizen science involves taking images of nature. There's projects, for example, the iNaturalist app, which is so simple. It allows you to open your eyes and ears to nature and to collect images that help scientists through this database of different images. I talked about classifying images from space telescopes. My favorite is counting pollinators. And it's so interesting. Once you start to become a citizen scientist, you start to recognize so much more about the world than you did before. So I love counting pollinators. It's one of the easiest projects to participate in, both as an adult or as a youth. And there are pollinators everywhere. But because I'm sort of now tuned into this, the other day I was going through the drive-through. I won't name the fast food restaurant I was going through, but I noticed I'm not joking, 50 bees. And they were all over the plants. And I was so happy to see them. They were big, beautiful, fat little bumblebees. And I was so excited to see them. And I don't know, I just feel like because of this sort of work of tuning into the natural world and collecting data, you're just so much more aware of your surroundings. You notice really interesting and cool things about nature, and unfortunately, some really devastating things about nature too. And so that's sort of what citizen science is all about. Oh, there's also, if you would like, you can contribute biological samples and become a citizen scientist. Because of one project, we know that there's 50 different types of bacteria in your belly button because people swabbed their belly buttons and sent it back to scientists, and we wouldn't have known that otherwise. So citizen science helps accelerate research. It helps people be able to participate in ways that take science out of the lab and makes it real and makes it local. Next slide, please. Okay, so talking a little bit about those, which of these activities counts as citizen science? Just throw your answers in the chat. Is it taking a photo of a plant and uploading it to the iNaturalist app? Identifying mosquito habitats and logging data on an app called Globe Observer? Planting a pollinator garden to increase pollinator activity? Or testing your local water and reporting findings to a project called Crowd the Tap? Okay, Adrian says all of the above. Interesting. Any other thoughts? All of them, but the mosquito might be tricky. Okay, maybe all. All, okay. I will say one is not considered citizen science exactly. So which one might that be? This was a bit of a trick. Anybody have thoughts? Aha, Nicole says not C. Interesting, why not? Doesn't collect data. That's right. So this is an amazing activity. We encourage pollinators. There's a really cool project right now called around a PBS show called Wild Hope, all about rewilding efforts in order to increase more native plants and in your local regions to increase pollinator activity. But in planting the plants in and of themselves is not considered that citizen science activity because you're not contributing to a larger scientific research project that's tied to a university or tied to a lab. However, there are projects that you can go, like I mentioned, count those pollinators. Citizen conservation, I love it, absolutely. And again, this is a broad definition. Lots of things count, but really it is that data collection piece of everyday citizens contributing to a larger project that helps us understand something more about the world. And so if you were to participate in the iNaturalist and take a picture of the pollinator or count it in some way, that would be considered citizen science. Next slide, please. So the National Girls Collaborative Project has been partnering with SciStarter, which we'll talk a little about in just a second, and Arizona State University to help support more organizations to build capacity around citizen science efforts. And this makes a lot of sense for us at the National Girls Collaborative Project because citizen science and STEM equity go so well together. Citizen science offers accessible, open access engagement for young adults, for children, for older adults. It's for everyone. And that is about broadening participation. Citizen science is also about including diverse perspectives in research and especially from communities that have been historically excluded from research. And so it's empowering people to see the data in themselves and to contribute that data and feel empowered that this data is representative of who they are and their local experiences. It also empowers people to have agency over their scientific knowledge. Anybody can be a scientist, anybody can discover the world around them. And it helps people address local challenges. The Flint water crisis was discovered because citizen scientists contributed water samples to a research project. Had all of those people not participated, we wouldn't have had the information to say, wow, this is a widespread and very critical issue. And so it's how people are addressing issues local to them. And lastly, for girls specifically, we know that citizen science is tied to these really important characteristics that are tied to gender equity. For example, agency and choice. There are thousands of citizen science projects, and so it allows people to explore topics that they're interested in. It gives them choice over what types of learning that they want to do. It's very experiential and hands-on, which is also another characteristic that we know supports opportunities for girls in STEM. It's highly collaborative, there's obvious real-world connections, and there's tons of exposure to role models. And, oh, I wanted to put here, just Amanda, if you go back for a second, this little logo here, SciStarter, has a partnership with Girl Scouts, and there's actually, I think, like a citizen scientist journey that you can do as part of the Girl Scouts program. So it's just really well connected. And then lastly, I know there's some librarians on the line. We are in partnership with Arizona State University and SciStarter, which is the global hub for citizen science. We are developing this library network. This is a map of all the real libraries that are part of our network. We're almost at 1,000 libraries that are supporting users in building awareness and access to citizen science opportunities. So this past Citizen Science Month, we've seen so many more libraries like Lise doing citizen science. So we're happy to share more, and you're going to hear more in just a second. I think that's my last slide. Oh, and just mention that there's a ton of resources here. I think you're going to hear about some of these in action in just a moment. But if you go to scistarter.org/library-resources, you'll be able to find turnkey promotional materials, guides to build your own citizen science kits, event recipe cards where you can, if you want to host a citizen science event, and this is not just for libraries, it can be for other community-based organizations. So please go check that out. I'll put more links in the chat, and I'm going to pass it over now to Lise to tell us about what's happening at the Grand Ledge Area District Library.
Well, thank you so much, Tara. Yes, we are very excited about science in Grand Ledge. And it's been a wonderful partnership with SciStarter, and we certainly are excited about the National Girls Collaborative Project. So as she mentioned, SciStarter has made it very easy for us. Why don't you go ahead? Yeah. So why science in public libraries? So we use programming to attract patrons to our library, to engage them in something meaningful and retain them as patrons. And science has been such a wonderful thing because there's always something that we can find that's going to be a way to engage somebody. The library is a place where everybody feels okay not knowing, and they can say, you know, they might be interested in pollinators or chemistry or coding robots or any number of one of those things. And working with SciStarter, they made it very easy for us to provide those things because we don't have to be scientists or subject experts on any of those things. They gave us that information. So go ahead next. So this played really well into our strategic plan. We have a vision statement about how we're going to provide vibrant resources. And so having these library of thing kits so that we could provide science equipment and use our spaces to provide the programming so that they could have educational opportunities and be able to come in for special events or for our bio blitz or any number of things. It really worked well with our Spark Imagination, promoting learning, and Community Connector. So those goals that we had made it really easy for us to then reach out to so many different entities, from the Girl Scouts, local scout troops, even 4-H groups. And it really, I would be talking to folks about what was coming up at the library. And science was a platform that I would find new businesses that suddenly now found the library relevant to them. The local business across the street is a new distillery, and they were all excited to put up our brochures and our posters because they love talking about science, and now the library was more meaningful to them. Next slide. So we took a look at what we were doing, and So libraries are extremely busy. We do lots and lots of things. And so you don't have to recreate everything you're doing, but you can take a look at what you're currently doing and add some more twists to it. So one of them we had was our take-home crafts. So for science in April, we really did an extra science twist on those and added more background, a little more foundation to add our take-home crafts and our in-person crafts to make them a little bit more science. And we did try out some new events. And that's one of the things that was really nice about the SciStarter platform is that those recipe cards that she talked about, we were able to go there and they had it for the Stall Catchers Catch-a-thon. It made it easy for us to try out the event and to set it up and have an event where the kids could come in and actually one of my biggest users for that event was a senior who was told by their doctor to come in and do something that was going to stimulate his brain for dementia and as a activity to stave off of dementia. And so he wants to play stall catchers more for that. So it was sort of some of the surprising things that will happen with some of these things. Our library of things has been getting more and more activity. So we have science kits. Sometimes when you're in a library and you're like, how am I going to catalog these strange items? It's a light meter. It's a telephone. It's an adapter for your phone. Oh my goodness, how are you adding these to the catalog? SciStarter made these much easier. They even included links to mark records. They included links to where you can buy the purchasing down, even to suggestions for the kits, the storage compartments that you could put these things in. I mean, nobody says you have to do it exactly the way they suggested it, but it's really nice to have these as templates and framework so that you're not starting from scratch. Libraries, we do a lot of collaboration and a lot of sharing. So having some of these things set out meant that we weren't starting from zero. Even this item that I have here beside me, this display rack was one of the things that they found for us, and it made it much easier for us to go out and get this for promotion. They even had templates for these rack cards so that we made it easier for us to promote. And we sort of have just gone to town with it, promoting all sorts of things in our library. Go ahead, next. So what was the impact on our library? So during the month of April, we had an increase of 21%. So between our March is Reading Month and then going into April is Science, all of that activity, all that promotion, getting out the word about science at the library, we were reaching new users and we had a 5% increase in new patrons. And we also were able to put together a Citizen Science Month webpage that highlighted our events and our partnerships. And that's also something that libraries often have trying to get the word out. So we keep trying to work at it. So we were able to partner with a number of groups. MSU does a huge science festival, the other MSU, sorry, Michigan State University, and then Eaton Conservation District, Barn Busters is a 4-H group, Girl Scouts, another local scout troop. Oh, and if you're looking for funders, Science Kits for Public Libraries, they do a great job of providing the funding to get those kits. So it's for the IEEE, and they do a nice job of letting you get the funding so you can actually get those science kits in your library. And Walmart now also has grants that they will do for community education youth services. And they have a fairly easy grant application in order to get funding. So this gave us ability to find, and we've been partnering so much with our schools. I have teachers that are coming in now more than ever to get our kits, to get our books. Getting informational texts is really big in the schools. So they come in and we'll get 40 books on a topic on different areas. And so we've been increasing all those partnerships. And I think that rounds me out. So questions, feel free to contact me. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. and also our outreach coordinator and programming. Any one of us would love to talk to you more about what's going on in our library. It's been a great opportunity.
We'll turn it over to Suzi next.
All right, well, hi, everybody. I'm Suzi Taylor at the other MSU, Montana State University. It's great to be here. I'm with the Science Math Resource Center. We're a STEM outreach center in our Department of Education. And like Amanda said, I'm with the Montana Girls STEM Collaborative. I'm also going to share with you a couple of projects that run through our university that have a citizen science component. I'm going to tell you a little bit how I personally got into citizen science, and then I'm going to end by sharing 3 of my favorite citizen science projects. So before I share my work, I want to tell you a little bit about where I come from. So I was born in the small town of Hanover, Illinois. It's in far northwestern Illinois, near Dubuque, Iowa. It's very small. It was about 1,000 people. We did not have a lot of stuff going on there. So I wish citizen science had been around when I was a kid. I'm sure I would have loved it because we were always playing outside and just doing fun things like that. I was definitely a science person. These were some of my early influences. I might be dating myself a little bit with the computer there, a VIC-20, and then the little professor calculator, ChemSet, and Legos. Those were definitely some of the things that I like to play with. Now I'm really fortunate. I get to work in STEM outreach with students in schools and libraries and out of school organizations, and it's super fun. So let me tell you a little bit how I got into citizen science, and then again, I'll share some of how we're using it in education. I actually started before citizen science. I was a geocacher. I don't know if there's any geocachers in the room, but it's really fun. I started geocaching so I could get my kids out hiking with me. I think that's actually a great way to get young people doing citizen science as well. It's like something fun to do while you're already out there doing something. So if you're not familiar with geocaching, it is basically people hide things all over the world. They post the coordinates online, and then you find them with an app or with a GPS unit. Some people call it using a billion-dollar satellite system to find trinkets in the woods. But what's cool about geocaching is that now that I also do citizen science, I find myself geocaching and doing citizen science, or I'm out hiking and I'm doing citizen science. So I'll share a couple of those examples with you. So let me tell you a little bit about the projects I do at MSU and how these trickle down into K-12 education as well. So I'm part of a NASA-funded program called the Aerocats and Rover Education Network. We fly kites for science. Basically, we fly these giant kites. They're up to 10 feet across. We attach instruments to the kites, sometimes a data collection instrument or sometimes a camera. This is a picture of the instrument platform, which is called an aeropod, hanging beneath the kite to collect data. There's a photo of me flying the kite. You can see that I'm wearing gloves to protect my hands, and you can see that instrument flying up there and collecting data for us. This is just a chart that shows the kind of atmospheric weather data that we can get when we fly this Kestrel weather meter on a kite. Whenever we do a kite mission, we log it on a map. It's pretty fun. Again, kind of like citizen science, where we're contributing to something that other people can benefit from. We also take photos from the kite. This is an image of us about to fly a kite, taken from a kite. And then I like to talk to students about what we can do with these aerial images. This actually ties in really well to some of the citizen science projects. When we look at photos, we can talk about where there's been flooding or where there's drought, and we can look at these images and learn more about the land that we live on. We also like to present these kite mysteries. For instance, this one shows some interesting shadows, and I have students think about what questions would we ask so that we know what time of day this photo was taken. This is one of my favorites. Usually I let people kind of ponder on this for quite a while, but I'm going to tell you what this is. This is a frozen lake in Montana. We were ice skating on the lake. I flew the kite above the lake, and you can kind of see the long shadows there of us flying the kite, and then even of a hockey player down below. So what we do when we fly these kite missions is we use an app called Globe Observer. I'm going to talk about that in just a second, but it's a really nice complement to that. I should say also April is kite flying month. So hopefully some of you have been out flying kites. And if you do, I hope you take an observation with Globe Observer. Let me share another project at MSU, which is called Smart Fires. This is funded by the National Science Foundation, and we're looking at prescribed fire and how when we actually deliberately set fires, it can actually help control the severity of wildfires. So what we're doing is using sensors to collect a whole lot of data and then using artificial intelligence to look at all that data and figure out what can we learn about how we set these fires and how we learn about them. So what we're doing attached to citizen science is we want to start a project where people all around Montana are monitoring air quality or other factors that help us think about fire, wildfire, and prescribed fire. So to do that, we're growing a big network of people interested in that. And then I'm also examining national projects, citizen science projects that have to do with fire or air quality. So if any of you are part of a project or know of a project that ties into that, I would love to know about it. So let me share with you now my favorite citizen science projects. I have 3. Some of them will not be a surprise because they've actually come up already. One is Globe Observer. So Globe Observer is a free app that's tied to NASA. You go outside and you take photos and observations of trees, of clouds, of mosquito habitat, or of land cover. And what's cool about Globe Observer is that the data really is used by scientists. I mean, that's true for all citizen science projects, but this one in particular, you have evidence of how they're using it. This is just a shot here of what the Globe Observer app looks like. Again, I like to use it when I'm hiking, when I'm biking. I think it's fun to try to take an observation from somewhere that nobody's ever been before. So if you're really out in a strange part of the woods or maybe a park in a city, it's just cool to take those observations and submit them to NASA. What's great about the clouds protocol in Globe Observer is that if you take an observation of clouds, which involves taking photos of clouds and submitting a little bit of information about what you see, if a NASA satellite happens to be passing over at the same time that you have taken an observation, you will get an email from NASA and they will show you what the satellite saw at the same time that you were taking your observation. I know this is kind of hard to see, but this is an email that I got just about 2 weeks ago. I got it within a couple of days of submitting a Globe observation. And you can really see, oh yeah, this is exactly what I saw. And this is what the satellite saw. It's pretty cool. I think it's a really good hook for kids, especially because sometimes they don't believe, like, I don't know, NASA probably doesn't want what I'm sharing with them, but they truly do. And this is evidence of it. The other project that I really love is iNaturalist. This also came up earlier. And again, you can go out and upload photos and observations of all kinds of things in nature. I actually love insects, especially because they tend to be everywhere and they're very interesting. What's cool here is that if you take a photo, well, for instance, I was in Yellowstone National Park with some 5th graders. We saw a bug that we didn't recognize, so we took a photo of it. We uploaded it to iNaturalist, and within just a couple of hours, somebody in Germany had identified the bug and posted it for the kids. They thought that was really cool. It's just part of this global community of people who are helping one another. It's really great for all ages. We've done iNaturalist with really young kids, middle schoolers, high schoolers, teachers. We worked with a community of adults with developmental disabilities. Everybody loves working with iNaturalist, and it's just a lot of fun. And then the last project I wanted to share with you, well, basically the type of project is called photo monitoring. There are many different ways to do this. One of the ones that I like is called Chronolog, and I'll show you a little example here. This is a site pretty close to my house. So if you ever see one of these, there's a close-up on the right that shows it's a little photo frame where you can rest your iPhone or your any kind of phone, and you take the same photo that the person before you took and you submit it to a database. And then all these photos get collected over time and people can monitor what's happening. At this particular site, they're looking at a beaver lodge and they can see how that changes over time. Here's another similar place, but a little bit farther down the road. This is a photo taken in winter, obviously. well, actually, do we have time, Amanda, to show the video, or should we wait on that one?
We do. I think folks would like to see the video.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to stop sharing here and quick pop over to this video because it's pretty cool. Anybody who submits a photo through Chronolog will then get an email and it'll link you to the photos at that site. Can you see that okay? So what's cool is that my photos are in there. I mean, I'm a citizen scientist contributing to this. It's fun to see the photos that other people have taken, and you can really see that change over time that the scientific community is monitoring. All right, I'm going to stop that and bounce back over here to my slides. Actually, this is cool. This is on the Chronolog website. You can see a map of all the sites that have an official Chronolog photo monitoring site. Again, there are other programs that do photo monitoring, but this one's kind of cool. You can zoom in and find a place that might be near you. I was traveling in the Midwest recently and came across this Chronolog site at Indiana Dunes. They're looking at how this dune in the background changes over time as the seasons change. So that's it for my 3 favorite projects. I wanted to leave you with just a couple selling points is maybe not the right word. I feel like we don't have to sell citizen science. It's so awesome that we don't really have to do much of a sales job. But when I share it with educators, I really emphasize that anybody can do citizen science, wherever you are, whatever age you are, whatever you're interested in. Participation is, I wrote usually free. I can't actually think of an instance when it's not free, and it's easily accessible. Often all you need is a phone. Sometimes you don't even need that. As I mentioned several times over, it's a really nice complement to other activities. So to outdoor sports or other going to the library, say every time we go to the library, we should take an observation on the way. Whatever topic interests you, there's going to be a citizen science project attached to it. I'm amazed at SciStarter that Tara mentioned. You go to that database, type in a topic you're interested in, there's going to be something. And then these last 2, when I think about working with girls or other kids who have felt excluded from STEM, I always prompt them to think about, okay, let's think about something that you love about your community. Now let's think about something that's challenging in your community. And let's think about what data and information we need to help solve that challenge. And that's what citizen science does. When you take those data and observations, you're helping make your community a better place. And that really resonates with a lot of people. I find, again, it's not hard to sell. It's a super cool activity. That is it for me. I left my email here and I can share these slides too. We are we are growing a Montana Citizen Science Network. Even if you're not in Montana, you're welcome to join us. And again, these slides will be around later in case you want to check that out. So thanks for having me.